Welcome to the very first episode of Game Plan, a podcast by Bezier Games where we keep you up to date with all of our latest news and announcements and give you a look behind the scenes of our games. This week we've got a jam-packed schedule talking about the upcoming 50th anniversary of Gen Con, which will be out this week, and we've got designer Scott Caputo with us today. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, thanks for being here. So Scott Caputo is the designer of our Gen Con release, our latest game coming out, Whistle Stop, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But first of all, let's talk about Gen Con. So this is August 17th to 20th this year. It's next week as of recording. Have you been to Gen Con before, Scott?
I've been one time before. That was 8 years ago. I had just been married. It was kind of like an extension of our honeymoon. My wife surprised me with the trip. For my birthday. Awesome. My first game was being released, which was at that time was Kachina, and it was just a very memorable trip. I actually wrote a piece about that on the League of Game Makers. So we're excited to go again, but this time we're bringing our 6-year-old son. Hopefully he has a good time. In my article, I talk about how the number of people is doubled. The number of games released is doubled. The number of publishers has pretty much doubled. So it's amazing how much growth there's been in just 8 years.
Yeah, I think so. This is my 4th Gen Con in a row, as I've been to the last 4 Gen Cons, and last year I think attendance was 60,000 people. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 60,000.
And this year is the first ever time they've actually sold out of badges. So they only have Friday badges left. Friday, Saturday, and the 4-day passes are all gone, which is insane. So I don't know how many people are going to be there, but it's going to be bigger than 60,000.
Yeah. Back in 8 years ago, it was 29,000. Hard to believe.
Wow. Wow. And we have... on the Gen Con preview list on Board Game Geek, there's, I think, 500 new releases coming out.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to check out all of them, so if you're a reviewer or a media or just someone going to look at all the newer releases, you better make a hot list of what you want to look at, because it's going to be hectic.
They've done a really good job with the tool, because you can actually pick the ones that you're interested in, and it's easy to go back and see those again.
Yeah, if you're going to Gen Con, definitely check out the convention preview on Board Game Geek. They've done a good job with, as Scott said, with just showing everything that's available, helping you prioritize things, and get your head around what you want to go visit. But obviously, Bezier Games is going to Gen Con as well, and Scott, you're going to be at our booth for some of the time, demoing Whistle Stop.
That's right. I'll be there every afternoon from 2 to 6, as you say, teaching the game, and I'm happy to sign copies.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you want to come and check out Whistle Stop, come and meet Scott, that's when you can do it, 2 to 6 at our booth number 2627 is where we'll be. We're only going to have a few hundred copies there, so if you're interested, come and get it early, or at least come and play. Tell us a bit about Whistle Stop, Scott, for people who might not know the game. Sure,
I'd be happy to. So, I would say this is a train game, but it's a step up in terms of complexity from a game like Ticket to Ride. So in this game, you control a group of trains, and you're moving across the country, and you're building the board as you go. You've got these tiles with lots of twisty paths, and so there's a challenge to, like, how do you get to where you want to go by using the tiles in your hand. And your trains block other people, so there's a bit of a blocking aspect to the game. And then there's kind of a coordination part to the game where you're like, I need to get this resource and this resource to deliver to this town. How do I do that? And so you have to kind of be very clever in how you use your trains and think about where other people are going to go. As you go across the board, you can get stock in these various companies. And at the end of the game, the person with the most stock in a particular company gets extra points. And then at the very end of the board are these really big cities that give you lots of points. And so it takes a lot of planning to get over there. But and once you make your delivery, you get extra rewards. Can be more points, more resources. So there's a lot of things to think about. But what you do on a turn is still very simple. You spend coal to move your train and see what happens.
I think one of the things that I like most about this game is the like puzzle nature of it, right? Because you've got a hand of tiles that you can play down, and you're choosing what paths you're making as you play. So you have control over, where your train goes and the paths that other people have access to, and you have very limited resources. It's not a game where you can just move your trains all the time because you're only getting a few coal a turn. There tiles that let you get extra coal and things like that, but you really have to be careful about how you move around.
That's very true. So one of the things of the game, as you say, is you get 2 coal per turn, but you're allowed to spend up to 4. And so you can see you can run out of coal pretty quickly. If you blow all your coal on your first few turns, you're like, wait a minute, now I can't do as much as I want. And so being very careful for how you use your coal, or maybe building up coal, can definitely help you late game. Sometimes in the late game, you're like, if I only had 1 more coal, I could do this delivery. The other thing I forgot to mention is the game also has upgrades, and so you can get these very powerful upgrades that let you turn coal into even more coal, or into resources, or into gold, or things that let you break other rules in the game. And every game has a different set of upgrades, and so the experience is always different.
One of the things I like about the upgrades is that if someone buys an upgrade, they'll have that, but other people can steal the upgrade from them by paying the price and an additional good to that player. So you're never really stuck in a position where one player has a huge advantage, because you can always take that advantage away from them.
Yes, that's true.
For anyone who wants more details about Whistle Stop, how it plays, a more thorough run-through, there are some really good reviews out there on YouTube, so you can look up the Man vs. Meatball review or the Game Boy Geek review. And there's also an unboxing and playthrough video by Tiffany Kairos, or the One Tar, on YouTube. So you can look up those to really get a feel of how the game plays. The other thing I want to talk to you about, Scott, is that Whistle Stop has been on a very long journey in its design and development phase. You've got another post about this on League of Game Makers, which people can look up if they want a detailed design diary. But how does it feel to have a game coming out after 5 years of development and changes, and finally seeing it hitting shelves or hitting stores?
It feels great. It feels fantastic. As I talk about some of those articles, there were definitely moments of doubt. Can I make this work? Will this game ever be good? And I persevered, through playtests that were very challenging, and situations where I felt like I was kind of at a dead end. But with help of other people, other members of the League of Game Makers, and just with Ted, I feel like we finally got the game to the place where it needed to be, and now I feel like it's a game people are really enjoying. I mean, early reviews have been very good. It seems like the consensus is this is a very good game.
So what's the origin story of Whistle Stop? Do you remember where the first seed of the idea came from, or did it develop over a long period of time like the game did?
That's a good question. I had just finished working on Kachina, so I love to make tile laying games, but I wanted to do something completely different. And I had just played games like Steam, another very heavy train game, and I like to pick up and deliver mechanic, and I was like, I wonder if I could make a pick up and deliver tile laying game. Where you're actually building the board as you go. And that seemed a little bit crazy at the time. Like there would be a lot of problems with that, but I was like, I want to try. I want to see if I can actually make this work. I kind of go into great length about how this all came together in the designer diary on Board Game Geek. But that was the start of it. It was kind of a what if, or could I combine these two things together and make a good game?
And what are you most excited for players to experience about the game now that it's coming out?
Well, I like the puzzly nature of the game, and so I guess I hope people have a really fun puzzly experience. I feel like I'm trying to create maybe a new category of game. I I call it the puzzly Euro. So I mean, it has definitely some Euro game mechanics in it, but it's also maybe even more puzzly than the average Euro. I'm working on another game with Luke Laurie. So stay tuned, maybe more about that in the future. But that's also kind of a puzzly Euro. And so I hope as people are playing Whistle Stop, they're enjoying like, okay, how do I use these tiles to make the path that I want? How do I navigate this maze to get the resources I need? The challenge is different every time because the board is going to develop different every time, and where the towns are will change, and where the special places change, like the coal yard, and which upgrades are always different. So it can be a really interesting puzzle to figure out. So I hope that's the fun that people have.
It's really interesting that it's a puzzly Euro, but it's a puzzly Euro with a lot of player interaction. Because traditionally Euros are, a lot of them are very solitaire, players kind of building their own thing, but Whistle Stop you can really, mess with other players by, placing your trains where they need to go, or blocking them off, and or building paths that are suboptimal for where they're trying to get. So even though it's a Euro, there's definitely a lot of nice interaction there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that in Euro games, some people sometimes say they're multiplayer solitaire because there's not a lot of interaction. And there's been a rise in like solo gameplay, and I think it's easier to come up with a solo game version if you're not interacting a lot. But I think it would be really, really hard to do a solo game version of Whistle Stop because there's so much interaction. I thought a little bit about it. I'm like, I don't think that's possible because of all the blocking and the way the tiles are played out. So yeah, I was definitely trying to come up with a game where there's a lot of interaction.
If anyone is interested in checking out Whistle Stop at Gen Con, you can come by our booth number 2627, and Scott will be there, as we mentioned, every afternoon 2 to 6, signing games, demoing games, or just, come and say hi. So that's, one of the big things that Bezier Games has at Gen Con next week. We also have a couple of other super exciting events. So we've got the One Night Ultimate Championship 2017, which will be on the Friday night at Gen Con. So if you're a One Night fan, this is definitely something you want to come to, get tickets to. If you're interested, there are only 7 tickets left, so you better do it really quickly.
This is interesting. Sorry if I'm not in the know, but is this the first time this has been done, or was this done before?
No, this has been done before. So basically how it works is there's a round robin of sorts. So you'll play multiple rounds of one-night games. And every subsequent game, the new elements are introduced. So you'll start off with basic one-night werewolf, and then you'll introduce the daybreak, you'll introduce vampire, you'll introduce alien, and it gets more and more complex, and people rotate tables, keep track of their scores, and ultimately there'll be a winner with a brand new shiny medal for the one-night championship.
People come in costume?
I hope so. I haven't actually been to the championship before. This is my first year with Bezier Games, so I hope that a lot of people show up with costume. We definitely get people on our social media posting pictures for Halloween that they've done, so hopefully people show up to this in cosplay as well. Definitely, at least come and watch if you can't get tickets, but there'll be a live orchestra at the event playing the one-night soundtrack.
So classy.
This is the first year we have a live orchestra, so it's definitely going to be a great experience. If you can't be at Gen Con, we will be live streaming parts of this, so tune in Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be streaming the start of the event, some rounds, and we've got a super secret new game announcement that you can learn about as well.
Wait a minute, another new game? Do you know about this? I don't know about this. You can't tell because, hey, it wouldn't be a secret.
All I can say is it's at the One Night Werewolf tournament, so make of that what you will.
So it's a new Suburbia expansion.
Exactly. Castles of Mad King Ludwig werewolf variant. That's what it is.
Maybe. Whistle Stop Werewolf Edition.
Yes. So yeah, tune in 7 p.m. Next Friday, August 18th. Yes, August 18th, 7 p.m. And we'll be live streaming bits of the tournament and the new game announcement as well. So don't miss out on that. Oh, I should have mentioned, for anyone who's not going to Gen Con as well, you can pre-order Whistle Stop on our website, and the pre-orders are actually already shipping out.
Great. I've seen pictures of people who already received their pre-orders.
Yeah, the social media posts are going out, so it's great to see people already getting their copies, already playing, and you could be one of them.
Wasn't there something about getting a free copy of Whistle Stop? There's like a giveaway?
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Scott. If you go to our Facebook page or to our Twitter, there's a pinned post at the top of both of those where you can win a copy of Whistle Stop, and all you have to do is go to the BGG Gen Con preview and thumb up Whistle Stop on the list, and then comment on the post or retweet the tweet. And then you can be in the running to win your very own copy of Whistle Stop.
Could be you.
That's another way to get Whistle Stop. Pre-order it, show up at Gen Con, or be the lucky winner of our Whistle Stop giveaway.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people on there, they're talking about where they would go on a train, and there's some really good answers, like Alaska and Siberia and Europe and California coast and Colorado. I'm like, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, as I read through all the comments, I was like, I want to go on a train now. I love trains.
Yeah, like,
why aren't I on a train?
Yeah, exactly.
I think my favorite was someone commented saying there weren't any restrictions to what we could comment, so I want to travel to Mars on a train.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I guess I didn't say it had to be realistic.
Yeah, that would be hard to do tracks.
It'd be very hard to do tracks.
Maybe a space elevator, I don't know.
There was another one I liked. What was it? Oh, someone said the Orient Express with the whole murder thing.
Yeah, there were a couple of Orient Express murder people.
Yes.
Hopefully they don't end up on the same train the same time. Could end badly for them.
There are a lot of very cool ideas. Even if you're just looking to go on a train trip, go to that Facebook post and you'll get some awesome ideas for where to travel.
Yeah, well, I think Bezier should start a travel site after this.
I think so, yeah. We should start our own Whistle Stop train track across the US.
Whistle Stop destinations.
So that's everything that Bezier Games has at Gen Con, but obviously there's a lot more happening next week. So there are tens of thousands of events that Gen Con organises and runs every year. And in the past I've gone to quite a few of them. This year I'm super busy with Bezier Games. I don't have the time to go to any, but I've been to ones that are like make chainmail for your teddy bear, which was a lot of fun.
Wow.
I made a little chainmail vest for a teddy bear.
You have a lot of problems with dragons at bedtime?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to be careful, right? It's just a precaution.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You know, the monsters under your bed, you don't know if they're dragons or not, so...
That's why you gotta have the chainmail.
But unfortunately this year I can't go to any events. Are you doing anything, Scott, this year?
You know, I'm traveling with my family, so I don't have a lot of extra time. I'm spending a lot of time in the booth. I'm doing some meetings with publishers, trying to pitch some new games. One thing I am looking forward to, there's a podcast called Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and they really love another game of mine called Velispa. And, you know, they talk about it all the time, and they play it all the time. And so we're finally getting a chance to meet each other, and we're going to play Velispa and see who wins. And so I'm already starting to talk some trash, like, prepare to get wrecked.
Are you going to hold back at all, or are you're just going full blown?
I'm going full blown, you know. Yeah, I'm going to be like Hulk Hogan in Rocky III, you know, just go all... so that should be a lot of fun. It'll be really nice to meet them, and because I certainly listen to their podcasts and enjoy it a lot.
That's really cool. You'll have to let us know if you win or not.
Yeah, they do this thing called box topping. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So what box topping is, for games that they really like, is they keep a record inside the box top of every game, like what the score is. And so the winner gets, you know, you have a record of everyone who's ever won the game. And so, you know, we'll see who gets in the box top this time, who the winner will be.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about writing in my games, but it is a cool idea. I'm not sure I would do that, but it's cool. I see the appeal to it.
Well, I use the BG Stats app, so I record all of my plays on there. So I have a record of whether my boyfriend or I are better at games, basically.
Yeah.
So
you know what your long-term win-loss record is?
Yeah, we have every game. We have all the scores. I'm doing better at the moment, so we'll see if that keeps up.
My wife does pretty well, but it does go back and forth. If it can be pretty game dependent. Like some games, she just seems to always win. There's a few games that I tend to do a little better, but she's pretty tough.
The event that I wish I could go to just to watch a Gen Con this year is I saw Gen Con for their 50th anniversary is they're doing a mass wedding ceremony and vow renewal for couples who want to do that at Gen Con 50, which I think is a really nice idea.
Oh wow, I had not heard that.
Yeah, I just stumbled across it. I hadn't seen any press for it, but I was just browsing their events, and they had at the Union Station near the convention hall, before the annual Gen Con party. They do like an annual dance every year. So before that, they're doing a vow renewal for any couples who want to show up, renew their vows, and then go to the dance as their reception, which is really sweet.
That is sweet.
And there's a chance to organize private events and everything else. But I just like that idea of Gen Con just celebrating that.
Definitely.
So obviously Whistle Stop's coming out, but there's a ton of other new game releases, as we mentioned earlier in the show. There's about 500 games on the new games list alone.
Yeah, there is a ton of things. I could spend a long time talking about these games, but first, Thursday morning, if there was any game that maybe we would run for to try to get our own copy, I think it might be Sagrada. We had a chance to play that at a local convention here recently, like last month, and we loved it. I mean, it's beautiful to look at. If you're not familiar with the game, you're basically building a stained glass window, and it's a little bit like a Sudoku, because you can't put the same color next to each other, you can't put the same number next to each other. You have like a grid that says what certain spots have to be this color, certain spots have to be this number. It's just really, really interesting. You're drafting dice, you're trying to fill in your window to score the most points, and it is very puzzly. Hey, surprise! I like a very puzzly game. So this one was very appealing. I regret not backing this on Kickstarter. I probably should have, but now I can fix that problem and try to get a copy, because I have not seen this in my local game store. I'm not sure that it's available yet. There might just be a few copies, and so I hope to get one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they actually sold out of their first print run, and so the reason it hasn't been available is they've been waiting on another one, basically. They've been trying to get more copies in because it was so popular. But I love this game as well. It's so relaxing to build. It's an interesting puzzle. It's quick to play, like you don't wait long between your turns. And it's different every time as well, because you'll have a slightly different window you're trying to build, and different things you're scoring for, and different like abilities in play that you can use, a couple of times a game. So it always feels different, even though it's got the same kind of puzzle at its core.
Yeah. No, it looks very well designed. I'm very excited for that.
The top of my list at the moment is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. I think it's at a lot of people's lists, actually, but Season 1 was one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm really excited to see what they have in store for Season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to expect from this. I am also very excited. I played this with my wife, and yeah, it was super, super fun. I mean, looking at the back of the box that they've posted online, this is going to be a very different than the first season. I interviewed Matt Leacock, and he wouldn't really tell me very many details, but you did get the feeling like this is nothing like Season 1. It sounds like you might be exploring the board. Did I hear something like you might even be scratching off the board as you go? And so you don't see everything until much further in. I don't know how this is going to play. I don't know how it's going to feel, but it's certainly worth checking out because the first season was so good.
Yeah. I've read a bit about the press releases that Z-Man have released about how it plays, and instead of curing diseases, so instead of removing cubes from the board, you're trying to add cubes to the board. You're essentially trying to vaccinate people or treat them. So every cube on the board is like a vaccination, and you're trying to keep cubes in cities instead of remove them or something. But I'm really curious to see how they're going to make a season 2, make a sequel, without using the base game that Pandemic Season 1 obviously used. They just took the game that already existed and added a lot of interesting elements to that, but now they're starting new. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they go.
Yeah, I mean, I think story will be a big part of it. It sounds like they're trying to tell a really different story this time. Because I believe it's set in the future from the first season. Like, this is, I don't know, 20, 30 years in the future. It's a very different timeline than Season 1. So I do feel like it's going to be a really interesting story.
They have a lot to live up to, but I believe in Matt Leacock and Rob Daviau that they won't let us down.
Yeah, definitely.
What else is on your hot list?
I've been showing my son videos of different games to kind of see what he is interested in. So I've shown him things like photosynthesis, and I showed him Bunny Kingdom. But the one that I think he wants to try most of all is Professor Evil in the Citadel of Time.
Oh, I've played that one. That one's a lot of fun.
Oh, okay, good. Well, good to hear. I mean, I've heard people say that it's a little bit like the Forbidden series, Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert. And my son Michael, he loves those games. So if it's anything like that, this is probably one that we want to pick up. But it's probably worth trying first. But it's a fun theme. The kind of the cat moving around in the citadel with rooms locking. Sounds a little bit like Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters with the doors locking. So yeah, we're very excited to try this. This is probably, maybe we'll go first with Michael and have him try this.
I'm trying to think what else is on my list. You mentioned photosynthesis, and that is absolutely a gorgeous game. I played that one at Dice Tower Con, and it was amazing. I loved that one so much.
Yeah, I mean, this caught my eye because I tend to like abstract games, and I'm like, I think this is really an abstract game, but a very beautiful theme to it. And so I'm interested in trying this. And my son, I think, was interested too. It's just a little hard to tell how it will actually feel when you're playing it. So I probably more try first and not just like try to go by. But Blue Orange does a really good job with their presentation. So definitely attracts attention.
For anyone who doesn't know the game, you are essentially trees, or a species of trees, trying to grow onto the board, collect light, and grow more and grow in the more fertile spots on the board. But it's got this really interesting mechanic where the sun will rotate around the board at the end of every turn. So there's no one good spot to be on in the board, because where you'll catch the light from always changes, where the other trees are overshadowing you constantly changes. And so it's just a really dynamic, really interactive... It is an abstract game, I think, but the reason I love it so much is the theme is so tied to the mechanics that it just intuitively makes sense as you're playing it and as you're teaching it.
Yeah, in the video I've seen, it looks like there's a little bit of an economic aspect in terms of I don't know, it's like energy and how you use it, and you can lose seeds, and that surprised me a little bit. I'm like, oh, there's some other stuff going on too that you have to really manage. So yeah. So
those are our highlights at Gen Con, or some of our highlights anyway. I think I have about 20 games on my short list.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to play Ted's new game, The Palace of Mad King Ludwig. I mean, I really loved, Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And so I'm interested. I mean, I was not one of the lucky few to play test it. So when that game was announced, I was like, what? I didn't know about this. Yeah, I would like to try it. I mean, it's tile laying. I mean, it's right up my alley. I know it doesn't have the master builder that Castles has. It seems like there's very different elements. You're building a moat around a shared palace. Everyone is building the same palace. There's some sort of economy of swans going on where you're gaining swans and you're trying to collect swans for points. But you also spend those swans, I think, to get new tiles. So yeah, I mean, sounds interesting. Have you played this?
I have played it, and it's definitely going to appeal to, obviously, fans of castles, but it's got a lot of different things going on. So where castles kind of revolved around trying to fit all the rooms together, all the different shapes, and then value the price as the master builder, Palace kind of focuses around everyone building a shared palace, as you mentioned, so you have a lot of opportunity to mess with other players. Because now you can, block off other people's entrances with a moat so that they can't finish their rooms, for example. But one of the other key differences, which I really like, is it introduces a player board with abilities you can earn during the game and extra things that will give you points at the end of the game. So you have 6 slots, and each of those slots can either be used to put a favour tile in, like the favour tiles in, the cards in Castle of Magic and Ludwig, where you've got a unique scoring bonus. So get points if you have the most red swans at the end of the game, for example, and so you can put those tiles there. But if you put a favour tile in a slot, you can't put an upgrade tile in that slot to get that bonus. So you've got this interesting balance of, do you go for more end game bonus points, or do you try to get the abilities during the game to be better at building?
I did not know about that part. Since I'll be at the booth, I will definitely have to play this.
I was going to say, you're going to be around it for 4 days. You should get a chance to play.
Yeah, I mean, so many other games. I'm just kind of looking through my list. I know I want to go to the Renegade booth. They have like at least 3 games that have caught my eye. I want to play Sentient, the robots. It's heard it's very mathy. I like mathy and puzzly, so that's right up my alley. They have a 2-player trick-taking game called The Fox in the Forest, which, hey, that sounds interesting to me. And then some new game that they're just releasing for the first time, Ex Libris, which is about building a library of wizardly books, and there sounds like there's a spatial element to it. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, they seem to be making games that are kind of my sweet spot of games that I want to try.
I really want to play Ex Libris. It looks right up my alley in terms of theme. I was reading the description, and it was like it was a 3-point description. It was like, build your library, manage your workers to collect the best books, alphabetize your books for bonus points.
Yes. I thought my wife would like this because she likes to organize. She's organized my games, which is amazing. And it's all by alphabetical order. I mean, like, yeah, this might be a game that she would love. So yeah, they're doing. I mean, presentation, just game complexity. I mean, they seem like they have a good amount of beautiful artwork, but games which have enough going on to be interesting but not overwhelming.
Well, there are many, many more games coming out of Gen Con, but that's all we have time for to talk about, unfortunately, on this episode. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope this has been interesting. Hope this has helped you narrow down your Gen Con choices somewhat. And thanks so much to Scott for being here as well.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you want to find Bezier Games, you can find us as @Bezier Games on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, pretty much anything with an @ symbol, we're on there. Scott, where can people find you if they want to tell you how awesome Whistle Stop is?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Scott Caputo Facebook. I'm on Twitter, Caputo Design. And on the League of Game Makers, you can also send messages to me through that. That's probably the best ways.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be releasing these podcasts weekly, so tune in next week for our post-Gen Con episode, where we'll be talking all about our new announcement and what's coming up for us. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye-bye.